Hello everyone. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can have a similar spawn system known from CSGO or Valorant. For this you will need to install the Team Spawn System plugin, which is available on the Fab Store. As usual, the link is down in the description. After you have installed the plugin in a project of your choice, you can go to the content, and under plugins you will find the Team Spawn System content. In here is a new level, which we will open now. If you have installed it directly with Fab, you will find it under Engine, Plugins, and here search for Team Spawn System. When pressing play, you can observe that multiple player starts are being debugged. The different colors represent different teams. Dark blue signifies the player's team, while turquoise is the color assigned to the bot team. The bots spawn at various locations distributed across the map. They rotate positions, and some switch teams after a certain period of time, which is logged on the top left. This activity influences the scoring of the player start points. The score of each individual start point is displayed directly above it. A higher value indicates a superior starting point. Moving through the map also affects these scores. Let's open up the game mode to see the setup. You will find it in Game Framework and here Team Spawn Demo. In here you can find the component. On the right you can see all the different settings available. There are 4 categories: the look at, the distance, the variety, and the team. Look at means that when a player looks at the player start, it has a lower chance to be selected, because the player which gets spawned there could be easily killed. We have a cone angel. This means when a player looks at the player start in this degree, there will be no score for it. For each angel above this cone angel, you will get a score of this value. The distance means how far a player is away from the player start. For each meter, you will get this score value. Also, there is a blocking punishment. This means if the player start is already occupied. For example, if there is already a player spawned or someone standing inside the player start. This score value over here will be subtracted from the whole score. If a player start is already occupied, it is still possible to start there, because we can find a different teleport location. But with a lower score, the chance will be lower. Also, we have a max meter distance. This means if the distance to a player is larger than this value, we won't add any score. This is useful to avoid a boring gameplay. When a player starts too far away from the action, he will have to go there with no interaction at all. With this value, we can reduce the chance to actually spawn there. Inside the variety, we have a cycle reward. We want your players to actually spawn at different spawn points during the game. This avoids that the player always spawns near to a better player. This could get frustrating when always get killed from him. Under team we have 2 boolean settings. The respect player team is useful for team deathmatch, where you have friendly fire enabled. When turning off respect player team, all players are regarded as enemies. This influences the score. When turned on, it is also possible to spawn near a team member. The respect player start team means that the player gets spawned inside its own team player start. In some game modes you actually want to ignore the team. Like in team deathmatch, you can spawn in any player start regardless of your team. To get the teams to work, you need to have to integrate 2 interfaces in your game. Go to your controllers, which can also be an AI controller, PC Team Spawn Demo AI. You will need to go to class settings, and here under interfaces you will need to add the Team Spawn Player Controller interface, which will add 2 new functions to your controller, which you can find over here on the left. The Get Team ID and the Get is alive. Get Team ID returns an integer representing the team. You can have your own logic in here. Normally the team ID is stored at the player state, but for AI sometimes it is also saved on the player pawn directly. Within the controller, you are totally free in where to get your team ID from. The Get is alive demonstrates if the own player pawn is still valid. Normally when you have some ragdoll or so, your player pawn is already dead. But because it's still your view target, we need to ignore it because it's not anymore a threat to another player. With this function you can do this. The isValid here is just a simple setup. In your own shooter, you may use a isDeath boolean from your player pawn. This is all what you have to do inside your controllers. You need to do this for each controller which is present in the level and should regard teams. Next, you will need to override the player start class. For this, there is a demo shown called BP Team Player Start. Inside here, you again have to go to class settings and add an interface. This time, the team spawn player start interface. On the left, you can see it will just add one function, which is also called getTeamID. Normally, this is directly saved on the player start. With all these functions integrated, your setup is already done. Let's go back to the game mode. To actually tell Unreal Engine which player start to use, you need to override the function called choose_player_start, which you can do in the overrides here. When we take a look, the choose_player_start gets a controller as input. With this controller, you can call the choose_controller_player_start with your new team spawn component. This will return a map of all player starts available for this controller with their own scores. The map is sorted so that the highest score is on the top. So when you get the first index, you will get the best player start for this controller. If it's a valid player start, you should call register controller player start cycle with this player and your selected player start from the map, and then just return it. This ensures that the cycle for the player is updated, so that the cycle score correctly gets applied. Where no valid player start was found, you could call the parent function, which will just choose a random spawn point. I do not recommend this for competitive games. This is how you can set up this for players, to automatically use Unreal Engine spawn system. But for AI pawns, you need a different setup, which is also supported by the plugin. Let's see in Event Graph, we have this spawn pawn AIs. In here, you can see a demonstration of how to spawn AI pawns. As you can see here, a similar function called choose_teamID_player_start is called. This is basically the internal function of the function we have seen before, but here you can give your own player cycle ID. This makes it possible to have an individual ID for each pawn without the need of a player controller. The problem with AI pawns is that before actually spawning the AI, you won't have any access to the controller. As before, you can choose the best player start, spawn then your AI with the desired location and rotation of the player start you have selected, and after this, again call register cycle, but this time with an ID and not the controller. This is important because if you now would choose the controller of the AI, it would have a different cycle ID than you specified over here. With this setup, the plugin is already fully integrated into your game. To customize your scoring even more, you can override team spawn component. When looking at the content again, you will find the BPC team spawn, which is also integrated in the game mode here. When opened, you can override the function called getCustomPlayerStartScore. Let's jump in. This override just calls the parent function. This means that we don't add any additional logic here. It's just a demonstration that it is possible. In here, you will get the player start and even the score which is already calculated. You then could override the whole score as you want for this player start. This is fully autonomous and integrated in the plugin. One example could be that you want that your team always spawns near together, so that the player gets supported by another one. You could use the player start and search all nearby players and look if they are currently fighting. If so, you can give this player start a higher score. It's fully up to you what you do with this function, but it's very powerful. Make sure to use then this component override inside your game mode. Yeah, that's it. As you can see, it's very simple to integrate this plugin in your own shooter. I hope you liked it. The link is down in the description, and bye.